I'm standing in our living room by the front door, and you can see we have this kind of entry area. What I'm planning to do today is build a bench, coat hook, shelf right here on the wall. I want to keep this really simple, really minimal, and I'm thinking kind of a floating bench. Simple floating bench, a matching floating shelf, the best I can get. It might not be totally floating, but it'll be simple. And then a single coat hook. I'm also going to incorporate a wood area into this corner, and what I mean is we're going to have a wood stove right here, and we want a place to store some firewood during the winter, so I'm going to be building it into the bench. We're going to have a wood rack, bench, coat hook, everything all in this corner. Since we're going with a minimalist theme, I think it's going to be an easy build, so let's get working on it. I'm going to start with the bench. I'm going to put it about 18 inches off the floor. I feel like that'll be a good height, and I want it to be about 18 inches deep, so we're going 18, 18. It's got to hold a lot of weight because we want to stack wood on top of the bench. You're going to see that. It's going to be weird. In my mind, it looks like it's going to be cool though. Now I want this bench to be floating, like I said. That means no legs underneath it, and that's going to be a little bit tricky. I was checking the wall, and I only got one stud here in the corner, and then one stud here in the corner. That means we don't get a lot of support on the sides to hold this up, so we got to make it really stiff. Let's go out to the barn, see what wood we got to work with, and we'll see what we can do. Alright, we're in the messy barn again, and here's the wood I want to use for the bench. I got these 4x4 posts that should be perfect to span 6 feet without any problems of sagging. I'm going to use 4 of these to make my bench. I have to support them on each end, and I've been playing around, experimenting with some things. And I came up with this. I have this old piece of bed rail out here, and this is pretty stiff steel angle iron. And what I did was I ripped down some 2x4s, and this is just the corner of a 2x4, it has that rounded edge, so that it would fit perfectly into that bed frame. So I'm going to cut this bed frame to length, 18 inches each, and I'm going to drill holes through it and use that as the support for my bench. I think the steel and wood combined will give this a lot of strength, so we don't have any problems supporting all that weight. Alright, here's my 2 pieces. So now basically, I have the steel, the wood in the middle, 1.25 inch square. And that's going to be my wall brackets. So now the next step is to cut these 4x4s to length, and then I'm going to notch out the ends to accept these pieces. So I'm just trying to get the best cuts I can out of these 4x4s. Cutting out any knots, trying to have a nice clean surface. Alright, now I got these seat boards turned upside down. I'm going to notch out the bottom corners so that they can sit in flush with these brackets I made. I should be doing it from this side. Hey, Belle! This up. Let me take this off and see what's going wrong. That one looks better. Alright, we're just getting ready to drill out these side supports. I'm going to be using some very strong lag bolts to attach them to the walls. Remember, I got to hit the corner and that one stud the best I can. So I'm going to try to drill this one right through the corner like that. Good? So there it is, drilled it. Wow, there is a drywall screw, literally right where I'm trying to put that. Now I don't really want to rework this whole thing, so I'm gonna pull this one drywall screw out. Very weird. We'll just pretend that we didn't pull it out. Check that out. That is one solid bracket. Ugh. Between the metal and the wood, it's just going nowhere. Now, the one downside here is that I forgot to drill out the bottom. So, I either have to take it off the wall or try to drill it in place. I just got a little too excited, too carried away. Hold on. So there's the first bracket, all done. Pre-drilled holes underneath. And hopefully this starts making sense soon. I got two big lag bolts into the corner, into the stud, really solid. You can see metal and wood. It's just going to be strong. Whoa. What is it?
I don't know.
So now that the first one is done, we're going to go ahead and do this one the same exact way. All right, I got my second bracket on. That one went pretty smooth as well. I had to change the lag bolt over here. The other one just wasn't working for me. You can see these have threads further up, and these have a longer, smooth shaft. And I felt like this one was gripping better. Got my holes drilled on the bottom. And we're already ready to start putting in the bench. So let's put them in and see how it looks. I was measuring from the corner, but when it comes away from the corner, it gets a slightly bit wider. So we're gonna have a little bit looser fit than I would like. I guess I can live with that though. Probably, ideally, I should have had the brackets on the wall and measured these to fit at that point. I guess the best thing I can do at this point is accept it and screw it in. You ready?
Make a crack.
I made a crack? Where?
Yay. Hi.
Better not make it. You're tricking me.
Oh, I see like so cozy.
Is that a good spot right there? I'm just using some 2.5-inch cabinet screws to attach these. And I'm leaving 1-inch gap between each board. Are you crazy? Now, this feels very solid, very nice. And you can see it has a really cool floating effect. Like it just feels like it's hovering here between the walls. It's amazing how you can take something so cheap as basic lumber and kind of make it high-end just by, you know, sanding it down, making it look nice and being creative.
That is so cozy.
Yeah, now you just need a blankie and pillow, huh? You can see that gap I was talking about. Not happy about that, but I'm going to try to hide that later. It's funny, they were so tight in the corner and they just got a little loose. I'm super happy with how the bench turned out, and this would be a perfect time to just put a shelf up, some coat hooks, and call it a day, and it would be awesome. But I'm going to push this project further and do something that could potentially ruin this whole bench, and that is drilling holes, big holes, into this seat. I'm going to be building a wood rack, remember, right here. I decided I wanted to be about 2 feet, which means the bench will essentially be only 4 feet long, still plenty long enough for an entryway bench to sit down and throw some shoes on. I'm going to be using some 1-inch black iron pipe commonly used for like gas lines. My idea is to put 3 pieces of it coming up here and against the wall. I don't want wood stacked against our wall. It's going to just trash the wall, so we need something to protect it. What I'm going to do is drill down with a Forstner bit about the depth of the bit. I just need the pipe to sit into the wood so it doesn't move anywhere. So now it's time to build the shelf. It's going to be very similar to the bench, except I'm going to be using 2x4s. So I'm going to attach my side pieces first, get these on the wall, and measure after. And that way I won't have gaps like I ended up with on the bottom bench. Alright, got my 2 brackets on. Now I can measure for my shelf boards. We'll get some nice clean cuts, and we'll come back when I have them all ready. So here is the wood for the next part, the shelf. And as you can see, I routed out the edges of it so that they'll sit up on the wood. I just want it to be like that because I think it's going to look better that way in the end when it's all finished. I also sanded off all the markings and bumps and defects. So these are just 2x4s, really cheap, but they look really nice if you pick out the straight ones. So hopefully I cut these right and they'll all fit. I'm happy with the placement of the shelf. I got my holes all pre-drilled, screws ready to go. But before I hook it in, I'm going to pull it down one last time. We're going to drill the holes for our firewood rack, and then we can get it installed. Pipes are cut and I'm ready to put them in. So this is basically how it's going to go. Just sets into the hole, into that hole, and I'm just going to screw them down one by one. Get those 2 in, screw it down, get the next 2 in, screw it down. Okay, so this is looking pretty epic already. They're in there pretty solid. And no complaints. I'm happy with how this is looking. I had to extend these shelf brackets out the same as the base because I couldn't reach the stud otherwise. I wouldn't have anything to screw it to. So I extended that out. I wanted to make it look a little better, so I ended up cutting these little chunks of wood here. I'm just gonna cap these off and kind of make it look intentional. That's not a perfect thing, but it looks pretty good actually. I'm not sure what to do about the screw. I'm either going to counter set it and fill it with hole filler or just leave it and say who cares. Now in hindsight, I would have cut this piece of wood to that shape. One solid piece of wood, notched it around them. But that's not a big deal. Like I said, I actually can hold fill that, put a little wood filler on there, and I think it'll disappear pretty well. It'll get a little messy, and I know it'll sprinkle down. We'll probably put a kindling box underneath. Just mess is part of having a wood stove. But you can see it's actually coming together pretty cool and looking good. I'm actually thinking about right now, you can see some of these boards aren't even with each other. It's not very much, but this board bows upward. I'm thinking about making a piece of wood right here to tie them all together. And I'm going to work on making a coat hook rack right now. I have been out here for a few minutes, more than a few minutes. I'll tell you, planning is the slowest part of my projects. Just trying to come up with unique ideas and work through the problems and how I want it to look. It kills so much time and I hate that, but it's got to be done. So anyway, I think I came up with a good idea for the coat rack part of it. First thing I'm going to need is wood. I need a 2-inch board around there. I'm going to do a 2-inch strip of wood with hooks on it. I happened to find a piece of wood that was 45 inches long out here, and that is perfect. So I'm going to use this. I'll rip it down to 2 inches, and I'll be right back. Got my piece of wood ripped 2 inches by 45 inches. Looking good. Now, I'm going to put some grooves in it. I just made a side rail that's going to come up on the side. You'll see what that's about later. Cut that out. Now I got to make my hooks, coat hooks, which we're going to be making out of 1¼ inch by 1/2 inch. So let's see if we can make some of that. I'm just countersinking some holes for the screws to go into. So this is the basis of it. This is going to be the rack, and these pieces are going to fit into here, get screwed in from the back, and just simple little hooks. You don't need a lot of hook just to hang coats and stuff. I think that'll be cool. We wanted something really clean and minimalist, and I think this is going to look pretty neat. I'm going to just pre-drill them a little bit so that we don't have any splits. Not into the laminate, hopefully.
You working?
I am working. So these being inside these tracks, they're not going to twist, so one screw's plenty. Alright, this gets pocket holed right to the back here. There. I went ahead and shellacked this whole piece. It's dry now, so it's got a nice finish on it. And now we got one more job to do. I already pre-drilled some holes right here, and we're going to be putting in some key hooks. Are you guys ready for the big reveal of our finished bench? Check that out. We wanted to make sure you guys could visualize the full experience, so we stacked it with firewood. That holds so much wood so well. It was perfect.
Yeah.
I would love to make a kindling box underneath to slide under there for the small fire starters, and that'll also help catch some of the mess that falls down. We pulled out our now practically vintage motorcycle helmets. We've never had a place for these, so we threw them up there. They're actually kind of sentimental to us. We don't ride motorcycles anymore, but we used to for a little while.
And hopefully we will in the future again.
Yeah. It was right before we had Val. And we've had these helmets for that long.
Yeah.
We're very minimalist in what we have, what we own, but some things like this we hold on to just because this was a big moment for us. It was a lot of fun, and you know, maybe we'll talk about that someday, but that's just a good memory. So we keep those, and of course the coat rack works perfectly. We're so happy with that. What a clean, minimal look. For some reason, every time I look at this, I think of a fish bone or something. It just looks so cool and bony to me. And the key hooks, we finally have a place for that. The bench is super sturdy, actually. I'm really impressed with how strong it is. 4x4 posts are pretty sturdy, so when you got 4 of them. And I mean, this wood isn't that heavy anyway, but. And it looks like it's carrying a lot of weight, but you gotta remember, this shelf, it's self-suspending, so it's not, these poles are not carrying the shelf. So this bench is only carrying its own weight, us and this. It looks amazing, Ash. This is such a clean, modern entry bench. When I was looking online for ideas, I really try to get inspiration from everywhere. I like to look at pictures, I go on Houzz, I go wherever, and I say, let's find some really cool entry benches. And all I was seeing was the same exact style, where it had these kind of cubby locker style, or, you know, it has the back wall with the shelf up here, and they all kind of looked the same, and I didn't really care for that look in this, because our house is a little bit different. So I just had to come up with my own idea, and I think it's pretty cool. And what I did was, we originally wanted closets here. Yeah. We were gonna, and that would have been such a bad idea. But then we got thinking about the wood stove, and we said, where are we gonna put the firewood in our living room?
Yeah, because you need a spot for the firewood.
And that's kind of what started this whole thing going, is I thought maybe I can make a spot for firewood, and it just turned into this, and it's way better, way better.
Just so perfect.
And this helps us contain the mess. Firewood to the wood stove all stays on the tile in the entry, which is already dirty.
Yep.
We like that. So I hope you guys enjoyed watching this project come together. I think it's awesome. This stuff is my favorite kind of stuff to do in the house, just creative projects like that.
Yeah.
I'm so glad to be done with drywall and insulation and all that stuff and be working on this stuff.
Yeah.
And I also really hope that it inspires somebody, because we really like sharing ideas so that other people can grow off those ideas and come up with their own. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the project, and we'll be back with another one soon. Wood stove coming next. So until next time, take care.
Bye.
I have to watch a movie.